Hello and welcome to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. My name is Todd, and here are today's top news stories just for you. Sad news. The 18-year-old gunman who slaughtered 19 children and 2 teachers at a Texas elementary school barricaded himself inside a single classroom and, in quotes, began shooting anyone that was in his way. End quotes. Authorities said Wednesday in detailing the latest mass killing to rock the U.S. Law enforcement officers eventually broke into the classroom and killed the gunman, who used an AR-style rifle. Police and others responding to Tuesday's attack also went around breaking windows at the school to enable students and teachers to escape. Lieutenant Christopher Olivares of the Texas Department of Public Safety said on NBC's Today Show. Olivares told CNN that all of the victims were in the same fourth grade classroom at Robb Elementary. Next news. Once again, one of America's deadliest mass shootings happened in Texas. Past shootings targeted worshippers during a Sunday sermon, shoppers at a Walmart, students on a high school campus, and drivers on a highway. Among the latest victims were 19 children and 2 teachers in the small town of Uvalde, west of San Antonio, where on Tuesday a gunman opened fire inside an elementary school in the nation's deadliest school shooting in nearly a decade. Each of those tragedies in Texas, which resulted in more than 85 dead in all, occurred in the last 5 years. But as horror in Uvalde plunges the U.S. into another debate over gun violence, Texas and the state's Republican-controlled government have by now demonstrated what is likely to happen next. Virtually nothing that would restrict gun access, it seems. Next news. Public approval of the Supreme Court has fallen following the leak of a draft opinion that would overturn the Roe versus Wade decision guaranteeing abortion rights nationwide, according to a poll. Disapproval of the nation's highest court was especially pronounced among the roughly 2/3 of U.S. adults who oppose overturning Roe, while support for the court was high among those in favor, according to the Marquette Law School poll, which also found increased partisan polarization in approval. The draft opinion obtained by Politico would overrule Roe and Planned Parenthood versus Casey, the 1992 decision that reaffirmed the right to end a pregnancy. Chief Justice John Roberts confirmed the draft was authentic and ordered an investigation led by Supreme Court Marshal Gail Curley to try to find the source of the leak. Next news. A candlelight vigil to honor George Floyd's memory at the intersection where he died was among the remembrances scheduled for Wednesday's second anniversary of the black man's killing at the hands of Minneapolis police officers. Activists planned the vigil, along with a rally at the governor's residence in St. Paul for the 2-year anniversary of Floyd's death on May 25th, 2020, which ignited protests in Minneapolis and around the world as bystander video quickly spread. The intersection of 38th and Chicago streets became known informally as George Floyd Square in the wake of his death, with a large sculpture of a clenched fist as the centerpiece of memorials. The city planned to unveil a street sign originally dubbing the corner George Perry Floyd Square, just ahead of the vigil, with Floyd's brother Terrence among those attending. We're going to take a short break from the daily global-ish news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here's the continuation of today's top stories. Thank you for being with us. Lamenting a uniquely American tragedy, an anguished and angry President Joe Biden delivered an urgent call for new restrictions on firearms after a gunman shot and killed at least 19 children at a Texas elementary school. Biden spoke Tuesday night from the White House barely an hour after returning from a 5-day trip to Asia that was bracketed by mass shootings in the U.S. He pleaded for action to address gun violence after years of failure and bitterly blamed firearm manufacturers and their supporters for blocking legislation in Washington. In quotes, "When, in God's name, are we going to stand up to the gun lobby?" Biden said with emotion. In quotes, "Why are we willing to live with this carnage? Why do we keep letting this happen?" End quotes. Next news. A U.S. senator who came to Congress representing the Connecticut community where 26 elementary school students and educators were killed nearly a decade ago begged his colleagues Tuesday, excuse me, as the latest school shooting unfolded, to pass legislation addressing the nation's gun violence problem. The mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, nearly 2,000 miles, 3,200 kilometers away from Newtown, Connecticut, felt all too familiar to residents and officials who saw many similarities to the attack by a lone gunman at Sandy Hook Elementary School in 2012. Next news. Turkey's foreign minister said Wednesday that normalizing ties with Israel will help efforts to find a peaceful solution to the Israel Palestinian conflict. Mevlut Cavusoglu spoke in Jerusalem as part of the first visit by a senior Turkish official to Israel in 15 years. The trip comes as Israel and Turkey have worked to reset their relations after years of strained ties. Speaking at a joint press conference with his Israeli counterpart, Cavusoglu said that, in quotes, working on a positive agenda can also help us to address our disagreements in a more constructive manner, end quotes. Communications between President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his Israeli counterpart helped calm tensions between Israel and the Palestinians in Jerusalem during Ramadan, he added. Next news. Here's the next news. A Somali police officer recently received an unexpected summons from the enemy. An unknown caller ordered him to report to a town outside the capital, Mogadishu, where the extremist group Al-Shabaab would settle a dispute between him and his brother. The caller assured the officer he would be safe even if he showed up in uniform. Overcoming his fear, Kadar traveled to meet with a panel of 4 bearded men in an office made from iron sheets. The Al-Shabaab men wanted to know why he was denying his brothers a share of the land they inherited from their father, in quotes. After an hour and a half of debate, the men directed me to distribute the inheritance among my brothers, end quotes, Kadar recalled in an interview with the Associated Press, withholding his last name for safety concerns. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7. Please stay with us. Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Update. Here's a continuation of today's top stories. Ukraine's president said Wednesday that Russia must pull back to its pre-war positions as a first step before diplomatic talks, a negotiating line that Moscow is unlikely to agree to anytime soon, as it focuses its fire on key regions in the East 3 months into the war. Speaking by video link at this year's World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed a willingness to negotiate with Russian President Vladimir Putin directly, but stressed that Moscow needs to make clear it too is ready to shift from the bloody war to diplomacy. Next news. British Defense Minister Ben Wallace on Wednesday dismissed a proposal by Russia to permit food corridors in Ukraine if sanctions are lifted, saying Russia should do the right thing, leave Ukraine and free up the grain for the nations that need it. Wallace said Russia in effect stole the grain by not letting it out of Ukraine, in quotes, potentially starving countries around the world of grain. He said that much of that food was needed by countries such as Libya and Yemen. In quotes, people around the world are relying on that grain to feed themselves, he said. That grain is for everyone. Next news. Australia's new government has urged China to lift trade sanctions if it wants to reset a bilateral relationship that plummeted new depths under the previous administration. The Chinese premier's congratulatory letter to Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on his election victory was widely seen as a relaxation of Beijing's 2-year ban on high-level government contact with Australia. Premier Li Keqiang said China was ready to work with Australia to develop the bilateral relationship. But Albanese said it was China, not Australia, that had changed since his center-left Labour Party was last in power in 2013. Next news. After a reprieve of months, confirmed cases of COVID-19 are surging in the southern tip of South America. But officials in Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay hope high vaccination rates mean this latest wave will not be as deadly as previous ones. At the same time, there's concern that many people are not ready to once again take on the prevention measures that authorities say are needed to ensure cases remain manageable. Cases have been steadily increasing for weeks, largely fueled by the BA.2 version of the Omicron variant. In Chile, the number of weekly confirmed cases more than doubled by late May when compared to the beginning of the month. In Argentina, cases rose 146% in the same period, while in Uruguay, the increase was almost 200%. We're going to take a short break from the daily global English news of Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Network. Please stay with us. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Network. Here's a continuation of today's top stories. Thank you so much for being with us. In David Cronenberg's Crimes of the Future, in which an artist, played by Viggo Mortensen, has organs and tumors plucked from his body in performance art excavations, Kristen Stewart plays a timid bureaucrat, swiftly turned passionate devotee. In Cronenberg's film, a Cannes Film Festival entry opening June 3rd in theaters, Stewart's character, breathlessly excited by what she's witnessed, transforms into a fan and maybe an artist. It's a literally gut-wrenching film, thick with metaphorical meaning about art, making that Stewart deeply connects with. It's appropriate, too, that the film again brought Stewart to Cannes, a prime platform for Stewart's own transformations for the last decade. Next news. Next news. Okay, now that's a name casual Star Wars fans haven't heard in a long time. The Jedi Master gets his own moment in the sun with a new 6-part Disney Plus series starring Ewan McGregor. It's set halfway between George Lucas's 2 trilogies, 10 years after Episode 3 of The Sith, which marked McGregor's last appearance as the character and 9 years before the late Alec McGuinness made his hooded, howling entrance as Obi-Wan Ben Kenobi in Episode 4, A New Hope. McGregor said he always kept the venerated discs in mind during production. He listened to Guinness's dialogue on a sound file in his dressing room and took more time after scenes were filmed, just to do a little extra Alec Guinnessy take just to make sure. Next news. Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks had to wait out a rain delay in the middle of the game and sweat out some tense moments near the end. Once they did, they avoided a sweep and were still alive in the Western Conference Finals. Doncic had 30 points and 14 rebounds, and the Mavericks beat Golden State 119 to 109 points in Game 4 on Tuesday night, when there was a 16-minute rain delay at the start of the second half, and the Warriors cut a 29-point deficit down to single digits late. In quotes. Just got to finish the game. A win is a win, end quotes, said Doncic, who was 10 of 26 shooting with only 3 made threes, but got plenty of help from his supporting cast. Next news. Brittany Griner's wife, Sherelle, wants President Joe Biden to secure her partner's release during whatever is necessary to get the WNBA star home from Russia, where she has been detained for more than 3 months. In quotes. Just keep hearing that. He has the power. She's a political pawn, end quote, said Sherelle, who became emotional detailing what little she knows about Reiner's detainment during an interview that aired Wednesday on Good Morning America. In quotes. So, if they're holding her because they want you to do something, then I want you to do it. Okay, whatever that means. The Phoenix Mercury Center has been detained since February 17th after vape cartridges containing oil derived from cannabis were allegedly found in her luggage at an airport near Moscow. This has been the daily global English news update of Millennium News TV 24/7 Global News Network. Thank you so much for being with us. Please log in to get the latest news and views and editorials on all of our social networking sites. That means Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. On TikTok, we are Millennium News 24. Also, on our YouTube channel, we are News Channel M24. Viewers now on both network broadcasting Android, iOS devices, Apple TV, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV. Also, all smart TV platforms. Please enjoy our entertainment, our latest news, views, and editorials, our Millennium TV apps, Millennium TV USA, Android, Millennium News Google, www.millenniumtv24.com. Please stay with Millennium News 24. We love you. We thank you. God bless you and peace on earth. Thank you.